I, 40 female, was married to Chris, 42 male, for 15 years. We have 3 children, Alex, teen male, Lexi, tween female, and Spencer, tween male. I filed for divorce 2 years ago because Chris is obsessed with moving to a warmer climate. During COVID, he began working from home, and by the end of the year, his company decided to give up office space, and now he's had the opportunity to live anywhere. Years ago, we agreed that we would move when we retired. Unfortunately, he became obsessed with this idea, and I refused to entertain it until our kids were done with school and I could get my pension. We tried therapy, but he wouldn't compromise, like buying a vacation home. It was full-time in a warmer location or nothing. Finally, it got bad enough that it was the only thing he ever focused on. It absolutely destroyed our marriage, and the resentment is strong. He was confident he would get custody of our kids because he makes a significant amount more than me, and his family is pretty wealthy. He was also sure that Alex would want to move with him because he loves the place my ex wants to move to and plans to attend college in that state. He knows I would never be far from any of my kids and hoped to divide and conquer, and that would force me to go too. My ex was pretty much laughed out of the court by the judge and told he could not uproot his children because he wants to live in warmer weather. He wanted custody, but the court looked at the children's best interest, and we were ultimately awarded joint legal custody. Now he has to work it out with me since he needs my approval to take the kids, which will never happen. He's tried to pressure Alex, but to our surprise, Alex is not interested in his father's bribes. He went as far as buying a house there and met a local woman about 6 months after we filed. She's pressuring him to move full-time. He can only afford a 1-bedroom apartment in our hometown right now. Our kids don't want to go with him because they have to sleep on an air mattress in a pull-out bed, and it's uncomfortable. The best scenario is for our kids to have 2 homes that are comfortable and close by, and I'm very aware of this, but still believe it should be in our home state. He wanted to meet for dinner the other night, and I agreed. He presented me with a new plan to move, including a brand new home for me, and offered me more alimony than I was awarded, basically the rent he currently pays for the apartment. Additionally, he offered an in-law suite apartment for my mom to stay in or move with us. What he presented was better than any scenario he presented when we were married. I could have a much more comfortable life if I agreed to these terms. They would be legally binding, but I still shut it down because this is the reason we got divorced. He's arguing that I'm ruining his life, and I think he did that all by himself. He thinks I'm being vindictive, and an outside opinion might be helpful. So, am I the idiot for refusing to move? Edit. My youngest child has a learning disability and is thriving in his current placement, and I do not want to remove him from his school and teacher. Not the idiot. How could a partner be so focused on living somewhere that he's willing to give up his marriage and his children? This guy is nuts and has his priorities backward, but I bet he met someone there a long time before the divorce. That's the only way it makes sense. I don't think so. There's a really good chance that the local woman is a rebound or is going to ruin him worse when she files. I am so sorry, OP. He destroyed his family over a personal obsession, and I bet his kids know it. I bet they know this has nothing to do with acting in their best interest. It's just a selfish desire. He thought he'd win custody because he makes more money. Turns out the court didn't like uprooting your children so dad can work on his tan. OP, I don't think you're being vindictive. You don't want to move. You already offered reasonable compromises, moving at retirement, having a summer home. He was the one where it was all or nothing. He's missing the point completely. This isn't about money, you being spiteful or vindictive, or wanting anything from him. This is about the fact that you have a life where you are. He doesn't see you or the kids as whole humans, just as accessories to be dragged along to wherever he wants it to be. Yeah, dude's lost his mind. He met someone there but wants to move his ex-wife down and ex-mother-in-law down because he couldn't buy his kids off to force your hand. He sounds like he's had a serious mental break and he's fixating on one thing. He needs to get his priorities straight. He is not the center of the universe. You all do not need to revolve around him like the sun. My brother is 13 years older than me, and I've known my whole life all 19 years, that he would have preferred to remain an only child. We are not close. He's never had time for me, never wanted me in his life or to be in mine. When he moved out, he stayed distant from me. He'd speak to our parents and visit them, but it was like I wasn't there. Over the years, I got used to it. When I was 12, our parents asked him if he would let me stay for a weekend because they were attending an adult-only wedding. He said no, but he didn't just say no. He was clear that he would never want that kind of contact with me. They argued back then over it, not sure how bad it got, but they never asked again, and nothing changed between him and me. It always stood out to me that he was almost disgusted to be asked, and by the idea that he would need to spend time with me. He never showed up to my birthdays or got me anything for Christmas or my birthday. My parents were bothered, but always told me once we were both grown, our relationship would be more equal and could grow. They wanted to believe that more than they actually did. My brother's been with the same woman for like 8 years. I've met her a grand total of 2 times. Now they're engaged and everyone's all excited. His fiancée came over while I was at my parents' house for Christmas and asked me to be her bridesmaid. She brought up how they needed to include me since all of her siblings were bridesmaids and groomsmen. I asked if that was the only reason, and she was silent because she was asking a stranger for the sake of appearances. So I told her it was nice to offer and all, but I couldn't accept and wouldn't attend the wedding. She freaked out and went crazy about how my lack of attendance will overshadow the day, and sometimes you go for family, even if you're not close to or know the family, because family is important. I had to leave my parents' house because they were also unhappy when they heard that I was planning on not going. They told me he was my brother and I should be at his wedding, even if I wasn't a bridesmaid. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Weddings are for family and friends. If it's such an issue for your brother's fiancée, and if she keeps freaking out at you and everyone else about it, tell her that. And your brother has never seen you, let alone treated you as family or friend. It shouldn't be on you ever to be the one to have to play nice. He never made an effort, and if you don't care to do so, you're under no obligation to try. He gets to reap what he sowed. I'm sorry your parents are so deep in denial over his idiot behavior. You, very literally, owe him nothing. Although you are giving him the gift he always wanted, acting like he doesn't have a sister, it's probably worth it. Every other very good reason aside, there's not a chance your absence would overshadow the day. If this is how he treats you and talks about you in your presence, I'd be willing to bet that plenty of the attendees don't even know he has a sister. I would have asked the fiancée whether she had cleared this idea with her future husband, because it seems to be clear that he would probably be against inviting OP at all, not just as a bridesmaid. Instead, she seemingly went behind her future husband's back, trying to poke her nose into another family's relationship for the sake of keeping appearances. OP, you have every right to turn down the invitation. I, 34 female, live in the U.S. I'm a professional makeup artist, and I work for a small company that provides makeup to people for things like weddings, proms, photo shoots, etc. Basically, I do their makeup for them. I've had this job for the past 10 years. First of all, let me clarify that this has nothing to do with skin tone. This was over skin texture and condition. I had a client yesterday, who I assume is a mid-teen, that wanted makeup done for a school dance. She made the appointment through the company I work for, and I didn't meet her or see her at all before she came in to get her makeup done. Long story short, her skin was in terrible condition, and I didn't feel comfortable putting makeup on it. She had so many open wounds on her face, which I assume were acne scars. She also had a rash around her eyes and mouth. I still don't know what it was, but it was light red patches around her eyes and mouth. I was genuinely worried that she might have a skin condition or something that's contagious. Yes, my company sanitizes everything, and I know if it's done properly, nothing should spread. But to be honest, it still weirded me out to put makeup brushes over her wounds, and what I think was a rash, then later use those same brushes on other clients. It just didn't sit well with me. I also don't think makeup on her skin would be good for her in general. Foundation going into open wounds isn't necessarily recommended. It might have made her skin even worse. I tried to be very nice to the girl and explained that I couldn't do her makeup because of the risk of infection. I made it seem like my only concern was her own skin health, since I didn't want to seem mean and basically say, I don't want you spreading diseases around to my clients. I was very careful with my words and honestly did my absolute best not to offend her, but I still had to be firm in the fact that I wasn't comfortable doing her makeup. The company offered her a full refund and even waived the cancellation cost, but she insisted she needed her makeup done. My manager ended up sort of siding with me and not forcing me to do it, but talked to her and asked if she'd be okay with just eyeshadow and not a full face, which I still really didn't want to do, but if she agreed to that, I would have. She kept insisting on a full face and made a big scene, ended up calling me a witch and a Karen, then eventually stormed out. Should I have just done her makeup and not said anything? Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She needs a dermatologist, not a makeup artist. You're likely not the first to turn her down. Professionals aren't just about the money. You were keeping your other clients' health in mind, as well as caring about what would happen to her with the foundation and open wounds. Any true professional would let her down easily and then show her the door. That's a safety and health issue. I don't think it's ethical to do it anyway when you have clear concerns. The chemicals in the makeup should also cause them to become infected and cause more problems for the poor girl. You were doing the right thing by protecting your other clients. I feel sympathy for her, but on the other hand, it's pretty selfish of her to not understand that her skin issue could spread illnesses to other people. You are the idiot for being motivated by fear of it being contagious. As someone with eczema, a skin condition that isn't contagious, I live my life with people like you who just look down at me when I talk to them. Having skin conditions is already very painful because as soon as everyone sees you, they're unattracted. That poor kid, she probably just wanted to look pretty for a night and thought you could help, but you refused. I'm also concerned that you don't use disposable tools. Every makeup artist I've seen uses disposable sponges, brushes, etc., and a mixing palette, so they aren't dipping used items back into the product. Agree. I have never heard of anyone refusing to do makeup because they had acne. You totally shamed a teenager, probably damaging her self-esteem. You said it yourself. My company sanitizes everything, and I know if it's done properly, nothing should spread. That means that this was all you judging the girl. You humiliated a teen girl, and her only wrongdoing was having acne. You are very mean. My daughter, nearly adult female, has been skipping school to go to our local art gallery, and I followed her to see that she's just looking at paintings for hours. My daughter's a straight-A student who used to enjoy going to school and has made dear friends. Her teacher informed me that she had awful attendance recently, so when I found out what she had been doing, I asked her teacher whether this was bullying, and she said absolutely not, and that her classmates were worried about her well-being. I told her that she was banned from going to art galleries indefinitely. She just started crying and telling me that I had ruined everything. She informed me that she was missing school because she prefers the company of the paintings rather than the annoying company at school. She wouldn't go into any more detail. That was the end of it. My wife, on the other hand, disagrees with me. She told me that I'm just making her disobey us more and we should go at this from a different approach. I completely disagreed and thought my daughter should stop letting her artistic desires drive her away from what she needs to become. Now my daughter and wife both disagree with me and think this isn't a way to go about it. Am I the idiot? Yep, you are the idiot. Your daughter isn't going to a crack house to get high. She's experiencing art voluntarily. Agreed, she shouldn't be skipping school and damaging her academic work, but banning her from galleries is going to, number 1, make her resent you, 2, not make her feel better about school, and 3, potentially damage her love of art, which is a good thing. Instead of this, why not work out a deal with her for heaven's sake? If you have a semester without a missed class, I will take you to insert major gallery here within your budget for a weekend of unbridled art viewing. If you get straight A's, I'll try to get you a face-to-face with a curator or gallerist. Don't crush something positive in your child's life. Not sure what you mean by what she needs to become. What she becomes is her decision, not yours. I suspect there's some deeper reason she spends so much time at the gallery. However, with the way you handled it, I doubt she'll confide in you. If you approached it differently, you'd have a shot at helping her have the best of both school and her art world. It ain't about the art. Dude, address the actual problem. Instead of throwing down the hammer and being dismissive with this do as I say attitude, why not have an open dialogue to find out exactly what the underlying issue is and be willing to discuss options for a plan forward and negotiate with her? My husband and I have been living off mostly frozen meals and takeout for the last few years, but as a New Year's resolution, we wanted to start making more home-cooked meals. This was his idea, and I was all for it. We planned a big meal to kick it off with a roasted chicken and lots of sides that we could save and eat throughout the week. The day before, I prepped a bunch of the veggies for sides and the spices the day before. I grew them, but have never really used them for cooking. The day to cook everything came, and he said he wanted to go hang out with his friends, which was fine, but I asked that he be back by a certain time so we could start making dinner together. That time came and went, and I started cooking the chicken, but asked him to be back to help with the sides. Again, that didn't happen, and by the time everything was done, he was still out drinking with his buddies, and when I called, somewhat angry, he hung up on me. I took all the food and threw it into the dumpster. I know it was a waste of perfectly good food, and I'm wrong for that, but I was so mad that this thing we were supposed to be doing together was just me cooking, while he went out and got drunk with friends. He thinks I'm the idiot for throwing out everything in anger. My reasoning is that he wanted to start home cooking meals, but then bailed the second I asked him to help. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Did he actually just expect to come home to a fully cooked meal after you planned to do it together, and he bailed to go drinking, then hung up on you? What a loser. Given my temperament, that man is lucky OP threw the meal out, rather than putting it all out on the front step for his intoxicated self and the local raccoons to find, and changing the locks. Everyone's the idiot. I totally get your anger, but that was such a waste of food. I would have cooked it, sat down, and had myself a nice meal without him, not called to tell him it was done, and when done, cleaned up, put the food away, and then if he asked, tell him he's welcome to make himself a plate. I would not have wasted the food and wouldn't give him the satisfaction of making me angry. I don't know. People are getting very precious about food for one meal. She didn't throw out the entire fridge. I bet the sight of it nauseated her completely. It's not food after that. It symbolizes betrayal and disappointment. This behavior of his might be a pattern, and it's likely a relationship-ending situation. Last year, I bought an e-Move Cruiser, electric scooter, which I've since modified to add more speed, a new handlebar, and some other mods. The scooter itself was not cheap, at $1,500, plus mods puts it over $2,000. I have a sister, 43, and a nephew, a young teen, who I always let house sit for me while I'm on business. I have pets and plants that I need taken care of, and they always welcome a change of scenery. So I had to go on a business trip last month for a week and let them house sit. My nephew has always asked me about my scooter, and I told him that it isn't for kids because it's extremely fast. I've expressly forbidden him from riding it multiple times. His mother knows about this as well. Well, I came back from my trip, and my sister told me that I was going to be mad, but my nephew took my scooter out, left it unattended, and had it stolen. I was furious and asked them to leave. I told them they'd have to replace it, and my sister pleaded with me that they couldn't afford it. It was a mistake, and he could just do some chores around my house to pay me back. I told her that it doesn't replace my scooter. She said that any money would have to come from their vacation fund. I said, tough crap. Our parents have gotten involved and said that I'm taking it too far. They agree that my nephew should be punished and I should be paid back. But to take away their family vacation is just cruel and petty. They suggested a payment plan. I told them heck no, that I use my scooter to commute to work often and that I wanted it back immediately. Furthermore, he was warned not to ride it since it's dangerous. Now that I've started to calm down a little, I'm wondering if I'm being the idiot by being so demanding and potentially punishing everyone else for my nephew's mistake. Edit. Sis and her family live in a not-so-great neighborhood in a smaller house. I live in a bigger house alone in a neighborhood closer to my nephew's school. They look forward to house sitting because they love my house and the neighborhood. The dogs love them, and they get to use my pool. In fact, they always look forward to me going on trips because they consider it a mini vacation. I don't pay my sister. She's turned it down multiple times. They do have a free run of the house while I'm gone, and I do leave a lot of money for their meals. Also, there are far safer scooters for teenagers, and I was thinking of getting him one for his birthday in the summer. She said any money would have to come from their vacation fund. If replacing the scooter meant they'd have to use money reserved for basic necessities, rent or mortgage, food, utilities, you may want to reconsider the payment plan option. But if they're upset because they can't take a vacation this year because of this, then tough crap. You are not the idiot. Yep, not going on vacation would be a perfect punishment for the kid and for the mother of the kid who allowed this to happen. They both deserve to be punished. OP, your sister should pay you. She allowed it to happen. Your parents can pay money into your sister's vacation budget. Your sister can make payments back to your parents. Solved. Right? My first thought when it said the mom wanted the boy to do chores to pay OP back was, no. He can do chores to pay you back, and you can pay for the replacement, but doing chores to pay grandma or grandpa back would be perfectly acceptable too. OP notes that he uses the scooter to commute to work. Would they be this blasé about the kid stealing and losing a car? Their neglect caused it to be stolen, so they need to face the consequences, especially since it was expressly forbidden that the nephew ride it. I highly doubt it was neglect. I think it was theft. He took it out and left it unattended? How does that make sense? He took it out to his little friends. If he just wanted to ride it, as he said, then that's what he would have done. Instead, he rode it somewhere and left it? Where did he go? The park? An office? A movie? People bring bikes to stores all the time. Protecting or locking up your vehicle is as common sense as locking your door. Does he habitually leave your door unlocked when he's house sitting? It doesn't make any sense. If it was his, then maybe he forgot because he's used to it. But no, it's a special occasion. BS. I promise you, he knows who has it. This is just like the story about the boy who saw his uncle's toy collection, Googled their prices, and stole them to sell them. This isn't an innocent mistake. I actually wondered if he crashed and totaled it, or sister sold it for cash, and they thought the theft would make it sound like the poor kid was robbed. Did they file a police report? Probably not. And where was your sister when your nephew took the scooter out? Oh, probably she was selling it. My 30 female, sister 39 female, has been with her boyfriend 41 male for 15 years. They have no intention of getting married. They just see it as a piece of paper. But I feel differently. For their anniversary, they got each other what essentially looked like engagement or wedding rings. When they started wearing the rings, they made it seem like they had gone and eloped. They had an anniversary party with friends and family, and everyone was congratulating them, but on what? She came over yesterday, and I was honest with her and said that I think it's strange that they're willing to wear rings, even call each other husband and wife, but not get married. She told me they don't need a piece of paper to tell them that they can call each other husband and wife. But I argue that they're literally doing everything a married couple would do. They're just not making it official, and it doesn't make sense to me. I said I feel like husband and wife labels are saved for married couples. She just said this shouldn't matter to me. It's just a label, and called me a judgmental idiot. We argued for 10 minutes before she left. My mom called me crying because my sister called her crying, and now both of them say that they're disappointed in me, and I'm being unsupportive of my sister's decision to not get married. Am I the idiot here? You are the idiot. How does it affect you in any way, shape, or form if they call each other husband or wife, or frog and toad, or king and queen? Your sister's happy in her relationship. Isn't that all that matters? Mind your own business. What looks weird is saying boyfriend at a particular age, especially after 15 years together. It makes sense. They've decided to be socially and emotionally married. They're just not doing the paperwork. You're not their lawyer and you're not the IRS, so their legal status isn't your problem. It costs you nothing to acknowledge their social decision to be married. What's the actual problem here? I hate OP's sentiment that a successful 15-year partnership is irrelevant unless it's registered with the state. Honestly, it feels like a lot of jealousy here. It seems like you're a bit jealous of how long they've been together, and you're upset that you don't have the same. So you're holding on to whatever you can. In this case, it's the pathetic argument of, well, you're not actually married. Marriage isn't just a piece of paper. It's the day-to-day life together and sticking together for the hard times. If she's been with this man for 15 years, they deserve to be respected as a married couple, and you just diminished their relationship over semantics. After my ex and I had our daughter, Emily, we talked to the other kids about me legally adopting my ex's two older kids, Alex and Carter. Carter was really into the idea, but Alex was not, so we put it off. Then a couple of years later, Carter brought it up, and he really wanted me to adopt him. So we decided that I would adopt Carter and told Alex that if she ever changed her mind, I would adopt her too. After Carter's adoption was finalized, things went downhill. Alex started acting out and would yell and get argumentative. She would hide, throw out, and destroy my things and blamed it on me being careless or on our younger children. The worst part was her being mean to Carter and Emily. I caught her often calling Carter stupid and otherwise putting him down. She would unplug his games and his saves kept getting deleted. She would completely ignore Emily to the point of walking through whatever she was playing and saying she didn't see her there. She would only act this way when my ex wasn't around, and he didn't believe me. He refused to consider getting her into therapy or doing family therapy. It got progressively worse over the years. Realizing that nothing would change and my kids would continue to live with their sister bullying them, I decided to end things. That was last year, and we finalized our divorce. I have primary custody of Carter, now a young teen, and Emily, now young grammar school age. Alex, now mid-teens, was at my place for the first time a few weeks ago. She came with her dad when he was picking up Carter and Emily for the day. Since then, she's come over every time my ex has. The last time she was over, she said she wanted me to adopt her now. After everything that happened, I didn't think it was a good idea, so I said no. My ex interjected and talked about how back when I adopted Carter, I had promised to adopt Alex if she changed her mind. I didn't want to get into it with Carter and Emily right there, so I told them we could talk about this some other time and had them leave. Truthfully, her motivation to have me adopt her is based on me having more money than her dad. I don't think she realized this earlier because she was never at my house before. Since the first time she was over, she commented on how big my house is and how her dad can't afford this or that. I do know that my ex has been having a lot of money problems recently too. The part that makes me feel conflicted is that I have learned that Alex has been nicer to Carter and Emily since she's been over. So if I say no to her, I'm worried about her being mean to them again. Carter's suspicious about how she's acting and says she's weird, but I know Emily would be really sad if Alex started ignoring her again. Still, I don't want to be legally responsible for a kid that I'm pretty sure is only pretending to like me and being nice because she wants things from me. Not the idiot. You adopted Carter when you were with your ex. As a family, you split up and are not a family any longer. You're not obligated to adopt a child who's no longer part of your family. Why would you take on legal responsibility for someone else's kid when you're no longer in a relationship with their parent? I would say no. The offer of adoption ended when your relationship did, and Alex chose which potential parent she wanted to live with. She's a teen and old enough to learn that decisions have consequences. I'm sure that adoption would still be on the table if you were still a family, but you aren't, and it's not. Her behavior towards her siblings was quite literally the cause of your divorce from her father. So why would you put your kids back in that situation? That bird has flown. She rejected you and was a nightmare. It sounds like she's changed her mind for financial reasons, which is garbage. At this point, it's best for everyone to just continue forward. I really wouldn't consider giving her a second chance on the adoption front. There's no mutual respect there. Actually, what caused the divorce was the ex refusing to address the behavior of his troubled daughter, get her help, or even believe his wife in that situation. The kid acted out for a reason and did nothing to help her or protect his wife and other kids. That doesn't mean she has to legally adopt or even have a relationship with the girl now. But let's be clear, the child didn't cause the divorce. I wonder if the ex didn't manipulate Alex into changing her mind. It's pretty suspicious that he started bringing Alex with him for the pickups and drop-offs of her siblings. And OP said that Carter's pointed out that Alex is acting weird, and he's old enough to pick up on stuff like that. So I think there's something else going on. If OP adopts Alex and Alex stays with the ex, then ex's child support would be substantially reduced. Or he wants to get back together with OP and is trying to convince her that Alex is on board with it this time, and he's having financial problems. It's a mixture of Alex wanting to financially benefit like her brother and half-sister, and the ex wanting OP back for monetary gain. This is almost certainly what's driving the ask. I'm fairly certain that the ex is using Alex. It's manipulative and frankly disgusting. My 22 male, late dad left his entire inheritance to me, as I was the only one who stayed by his side in his last weeks of life. He was diagnosed with terminal stage cancer. However, my brother 25 wants me to share my inheritance with him, even though our father essentially disowned him and he hasn't even visited once since he was diagnosed. I obviously refused, since my brother completely abandoned his father in his last days of life. Still, he retorted that I knew very well that it wasn't his fault and that our dad promised us that we'd split his money in the eventuality he passed away. However, he willingly made his choice to alienate our father from his life. Now it just seems like he wants to have his cake and eat it too. My brother even threatened to sue me, but I'm not afraid. There's no way he could contest my father's will. My girlfriend, 21, however, thinks that while I shouldn't give him half, I could agree with him to give him a smaller portion, as she believes our dad treated my brother unfairly, and it's not worth it to estrange my brother completely over it. However, I still think I deserve the entire inheritance. Am I the idiot? Info: why did your father disown your brother? Is there a different reason your brother didn't come to see him? A son not coming to the bedside of his terminally ill father and a father disowning his son aren't things that happen in a vacuum. Is your brother at fault in the argument, or is your father? Was he even able to come in the first place? At a base level, he should get half the inheritance, barring exceptional circumstances around his behavior. My brother chose to be in a relationship our father didn't approve of. He chose a relationship with a man over his own dying father. The inheritance definitely helps pay for my college. My brother and his partner just work mediocre paying jobs to float above. But my brother never had big ambitions in life. He even dropped out of college. Then yeah, man, you are the idiot. Your father was a bigot who chose outdated beliefs over his own son. Rather than accept his son for who he is and be happy that he found someone to love, your father chose to remain hateful. By refusing to share the inheritance, you perpetuate and condone that hatred. Give your brother his money and take the chance to be better. Agree. OP, your dad was an idiot, and so are you if you didn't stick up for your brother. It's not that he didn't come to see your dad. He didn't feel welcome, and you all hated on him for loving who he loves. He deserves more than half after already paying with his dignity for what he went through. My friend, 28 female, and I, 28 female, have been friends ever since high school and have always done everything together. I've been dating my boyfriend for the past 6 years. One detail is that she never wants to hang out when he's around and just says, "Let it just be a girl's time." All right. She's never had a real relationship and usually hung out with married guys discreetly until she met a great guy she really liked and was exclusive to. My boyfriend had proposed to me a year into our relationship, so we were technically engaged, but he recently proposed to me again and said he wanted to renew the engagement and do another surprise because it's been so long. It was a nice party, but she wasn't there. Well, he later told me that he contacted my friend to help with the arrangements and bring me to the venue, but she refused to help. Fine. The next thing I know, she keeps telling her man to propose, and when he refused, she organizes a proposal and makes him go down on one knee. I thought proposals were supposed to be voluntary, but whatever. The dude just played along with her delusion. Later on, when she showed her ring, the ring that she picked, and told me that it was prettier than mine. They were together for a year, we were together for 6, but he had bought a bigger one. I straight up said, "He didn't propose. You forced him to propose to you on purpose. You'll break up soon," and just left. Am I the idiot? How are you still friends with this woman? Throw her in the bin. Usually hung out with married guys discreetly, made me want to gag. You're delusional if you think she's mate quality. Everyone's the idiot here. Just end this so-called friendship for good. Oh, or just wait until you and your fiancé are married. She'll try to get with him just out of competitiveness. I'm dumb. I didn't understand that hung out with married guys discreetly was a code for a serial affair partner. I don't understand this relationship. You made it sound like you're best friends, but it really sounds like you're acquaintance frenemies. Based on what you wrote, you think she's a skeezy tart who shags married men, and she thinks you're in a competition with her, even though she's better than you. So why do you even bother with each other? Wake up, she's not your friend. She's telling you multiple times in that paragraph alone that she isn't your friend. Please practice self-love. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first 20 times. You deserve better, and congrats on the engagement. My husband and I have been together for 6 years, married for 4. He has a daughter, Violet, teen, and I have a daughter, Mia, pre-tween. Violet was playing on her phone. Mia asked if she could play, and Violet said no. Mia said okay, but then got bored after a while and asked me to ask Violet to let her play. I asked Violet if she would let her play for just 5 minutes. She said okay, went to the window, threw the phone out, and then told Mia she could have it now. I went out and found her phone and the screen was broken. I was so shocked. She is a little hot-headed, but this is an extreme reaction even for her. I told her the phone was broken and she wasn't getting another phone, and she just calmly told me that she didn't ask me for another phone anyway. I took away the rest of her electronics and told her she wasn't getting them either because she couldn't be trusted, and sent her to her room. The next day she went out and came back with a new phone. I told her she wasn't allowed to have a phone and took it away. My mother-in-law called me and said I'm an idiot because I can't just take away something she bought with her own money. She does babysitting, pet sitting, and other jobs like that. I told her it was her punishment for breaking her phone, and she said it was her phone, so she could do whatever she wanted with it. She also told me to return the rest of the electronics, or they'll buy her new ones. My husband agrees with me, but her parents think I'm the idiot here. You are the idiot. The fact that Mia asked Violet, then went to you to ask Violet after she said no, tells me everything I need to know about your relationship with both of them, and why Violet may have reacted the way she did. Breaking her phone was an extreme reaction, but clearly, this is not the first time her boundaries regarding her time and property have not been respected. My same thought. Violet could have reacted this way because she was exhausted. OP, are you trying to have a child who becomes an adult who doesn't respect people's boundaries? You are teaching your daughter if one person says no, it's okay to keep pushing on that until it becomes a yes. This was an excellent occasion to explain to your daughter that when someone says no, it's no. She won't always have the chance to ask you to ask someone else to do something she wants. You have 2 children, and one's wants are not more significant than the other. It is hard for a teen to accept a new parent, especially when a said parent believes their child is entitled to things that belong to the other. That phone is not yours. It's not your daughter's. I do not foresee this marriage lasting happily if you expect Violet to give up her belongings at Mia's whim. Violet, for her due, probably regrets throwing her phone, but it was the only recourse a hormone-swapped, uncomfortable teen could manage. Given her stepmother's lack of empathy, I feel sorry for her in this household. I seriously doubt OP thinks of herself as having 2 children. Seeing as OP said, I have a daughter, he has a daughter. She doesn't see Violet as hers. Thank God she has her grandparents on her side. Violet was at most 8 years old when her family fell apart. Has she ever received any counseling? Has anybody ever checked on her mental health? Do you have a reasonably healthy relationship with her, or is she a troublemaker? I'm asking because this isn't a normal reaction for a teen to have when asked to accommodate their younger step-sibling. Violet doesn't seem to respect you. Additionally, her grandparents' reaction suggests that they don't respect you all that much either. If you think taking away her electronics is a solution here, then you are an awful mother to both girls. We finally have gone no contact with my mom. It was a long, hard decision, but she and my wife were just fundamentally unable to get along and recently had a vicious fight, and I knew I had to put my wife first. The fight was so bad my mom didn't even protest the no contact, so we're just done with each other, but I can't say it hasn't been gut-wrenching. My mom has given her version of the story to everyone, so I get that my wife wants to defend herself, but I hate that she's posting on social media because I find that tacky, and my mom just told people verbally. Anyway, my wife made a couple of posts about my mom's behavior over the years, which, hey, they were true, but then she claimed my mom wore white to our wedding. She didn't, and she posted a picture to prove it. This picture is not from our wedding. It's from my mom's own wedding, and my wife labeled it the mother-son dance. I was mortified. I didn't even care about the white dress, but the man my mom was with was her husband, not me. Face was cropped out, and I felt humiliated. He was holding her very intimately, hands on her lower back, her head buried in his chest. My mom and I would never touch like that, making me feel sick. Hey, my mom was stiff during the actual mother-son dance. I know some families are more affectionate, but I would just never do that. I asked my wife to take it down and she refused. I took it in my own hands and commented, "Honey, think you're confused. That's stepdad's name. Remember, that was their wedding." She actually wore green to ours and posted the pictures for proof. My wife was furious and deeply hurt. She broke down crying and said I publicly humiliated her and sided with my mom. She said she just wanted a little bit of petty revenge and I should have taken her side. It's been a day and she's still clearly upset. Not the idiot. Your wife is immature for doing that. Why would she post such a thing? Not considering your feelings about it, much less your mother's, even if you guys are at odds with her. She deserved to be called out. Next time she'll be mindful of what she posts. The wife sounds like a drama queen, and she publicly humiliated herself by acting like a petty teen engaged in a social media smear campaign. I hope you went no contact with your mom based on the behavior that you've witnessed yourself, because your wife doesn't mind lying and manipulating. If I were you, I would seriously think about if I'm okay sharing the same house with an individual so oblivious of reality and boundaries. Goodness, I hope they never get divorced. Imagine what kind of stuff the wife would make up then. Your wife's idea of petty revenge was attempting to humiliate you. Your reaction seems less like defending your mom than defending yourself. She knew what she was posting. She just didn't want to get called out on it. This is the kinds of woman you're spending your life with? Your wife went about 35 steps too far. She humiliated you in her quest to hurt your mom. Your mom may very well be the very worst mother-in-law, but are you sure your wife isn't the daughter-in-law from Hades? There's very little to go on here, but it seems a shame to go no contact if both parties are to blame for the rift. Maybe you can have a relationship with your mom without involving your wife. My dad met his wife when I was 10. She had 2 kids, a boy and a girl, both younger. Their dad walked out on them, and they had not seen him since when my mom died when I was 8. My dad and his wife set me down when they were getting serious and told me her daughter would need me to look out for her because she's special needs and has Down syndrome. They told me I would be her big sister now, and it was important that I be a good one because she would always have trouble. I told them I didn't want to be a big sister, and they said what I wanted wasn't important because it was happening and she would need me more than he would. So ever since that little talk, it's been on my shoulders to make sure she's okay. Kids being mean, I needed to help. No one to hang out with her, I needed to do it. I don't want to. I get a lecture. I resent it. I do. I don't resent her. I know it's not her fault. But I never wanted to do any of this stuff. I never signed up to be a babysitter. But that's what I am, especially now. If they want to go anywhere, I have to stay with my stepsister. And she's very attached to me. Like she's clingy and needy with me. And I know she loves me a lot. She's more attached to me than she is to her brother or her mom, for that matter. She would choose me over her mom in a lot of things. I'm even told to hold her hand when we're out if she doesn't want to hold her mom's hand. So I hate all of it. I'm now nearly an adult, and the end of my time here is drawing closer, and I plan to move out ASAP and not come back home for any weekends or any day visits. My dad's wife is aware of this too. She's heard me make plans, and she and my dad have started trying to convince me to stick around. Even worse, they've taken 3 of my weekends in the last 2 months and made me babysit her daughter for the entire weekend. They're trying to pressure me to just not dip from their lives because it would crush my stepsister. This past week, I had enough, and I lost it when it was just me, my dad, and his wife at home. They were making plans for next weekend, and I told them I had never signed up for the job of always being a babysitter, and that if they thought I'd feel guilty for leaving it all behind, then they were wrong, because I can't wait to leave, and I won't miss any of them when I'm gone. My dad started yelling at me and asking how I could be so cold, and I was an idiot for acting like being part of the family and part of my little sister's life was a chore. Tension has been present ever since, and I see that my stepsister is really bothered by it. She started crying when she got home that day, and she's cried a lot more than is normal for her, and I am being blamed. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Children are not autonomous responsibility modules. It doesn't matter if she loves you. It doesn't matter if they expect it. You deserve a life. You have a great deal to look forward to in your future, and being their auxiliary babysitter isn't it. Frankly, there's help for those who need a caretaker for disabled individuals, and failing that, it is the parent's responsibility. Not yours, not a child's, not anyone else's, theirs. Did they want some rose-colored love story free from tedious responsibility? Screw that. Go live you. Go no contact, and forget them as soon as you can get out. If they say she'll be neglected if you leave, call child services or health services. It is abuse to shirk their task on children. Wow, I told them I didn't want to be a big sister, and they said what I wanted wasn't important. All the red flags are in one sentence. They want their family to be like this, but you are being placed in charge of caring for her daughter with special needs. Invalidating what you want and putting this insane pressure on a minor is not only insane, it's also bloody illegal. If something happened to your sister while you were taking care of her, your parents would both be charged with neglect, and you and your siblings would probably be removed from your parents. Not only is this extremely insensitive and flat out wrong towards you, but it's also straight out negligent. You deserve to be a child and an adolescent, not a surrogate parent. If they put any more pressure on you, call CPS. My husband, 34, and I, 29 male, eloped in late June. Neither of us had ever dreamed of a big wedding. Instead, we fell in love with the opposite concept, which was doing it privately and getting to keep that special memory something just between us two. We had plans to throw a party around our 1-year anniversary so our families could celebrate with us then. So far, we hadn't told my side of the family that we had tied the knot. We live a few hours away from them and want to be able to tell them in person rather than over the phone, but we haven't gotten a chance so far. My sister, 27, married in a traditional wedding style yesterday. We drove down Friday afternoon and said our hellos, but kept to ourselves for the most part and let her and her bridal party do their thing. She was focused on a million other things, and rings on mine and my husband's fingers were the last thing on her mind, as they were for us. Being married for almost 2 months means wearing those rings has just become second nature. I don't take it off, and I hardly remember I'm wearing it unless someone points it out to me. The following day, we were invited to have breakfast with my sister, my mother, and her bridal party. To make a long story short, my mom noticed mine and my husband's wedding bands and asked if they were what she thought they were. We attempted to change the course of the conversation without outright lying, but my mother kept pushing until we finally admitted that, yes, we had gotten married back in June. My sister got very angry and asked my husband and me to leave the breakfast. We apologized profusely, but she held her ground. The rest of the day went off nicely, but we did ask members of the bridal party if she was still angry, and they said yes, and that she thought we had worn the ring specifically to steal the light of her big day. My husband and I are very embarrassed, but we don't fully believe the onus falls on us here. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Sorry, I don't believe for a second you didn't have one thought between the two of you that wearing wedding bands wouldn't attract questions. Look, it's okay to elope. It's okay to have a small wedding. It's not okay to announce that you eloped hours before a sibling's wedding. That's just awkward for everyone and attention grabbing. You could have left your wedding bands at home or told people in advance. It's one thing to elope, but it's another not to even bother mentioning it to family. Why keep being married a secret? Definitely, you are the idiot. I rolled my eyes so hard they almost fell out. You were seeing your family for the first time in a bit and forgot you were wearing wedding rings? Please don't insult anybody's intelligence. You've been married all of 2 months, not 2 years. You were fully aware of what you were doing. Exactly. They had 2 months to tell people they had married. They didn't. Also, of course, OP's mom pushed it after she noticed her son and his partner wearing wedding bands. Even if they're not close, it's her son. She likely felt lied to because, again, they didn't tell anyone they eloped. OP, you didn't want to pay for a wedding, so you turned your sister's spotlight onto yourselves. My 25 male, dad remarried 4 years ago. He has custody of my sister, Lisa, full sibling teen, Friday to Sunday, and he also has 2 stepchildren, Amy teen female and Brianna tween female. I visit my dad on the weekends to see my sister. My dad and I don't have the best relationship, but I love my sister with all my heart, so I'm doing my best to be around still. My sister is heavily obsessed with Korean and Japanese culture, full K-pop, anime, and things like that. There's nothing wrong with it, and I'm not bashing her. My sister and I like it too. The problem is that this obsession has caused her to only eat Asian food. And since she's mommy's girl and dad has prioritized his new family over my sister, that's the only thing they eat. They're not Asian. My sister has told me that she's done. She misses having hamburgers, pizzas, pasta, etc. But she can't eat them at dad's. And with mom, she does it very rarely because my mom cooks, and she doesn't do this thing every week. Mom's Mexican, so she cooks Mexican stuff. My dad orders takeout almost every weekend. And yeah, they mostly order sushi and stuff like that. This weekend was my turn to pay. My stepsister and stepmom were talking about some Korean restaurant and things like that. But I looked at my sister and asked her what she wanted to eat. She said she had been craving a hamburger for weeks. And I said, done, I'll order it then. My stepsister said, no, I don't like to eat that. I just shrugged and said I could order her something else. Still, my dad said we all should eat the same thing since we're family. So I just said, okay, burgers then. We went back and forth, and I ended up ordering burgers for me, my sister, and Brianna, tween, while my dad, my stepmom, and Amy had sushi. My dad called me an idiot for making Amy feel left out, and I asked what he thought about his own kid, and he kicked me out. Not the idiot. It's one thing to want to eat the foods you like. It's another to dictate what foods other people eat. You're right, and your father's wrong. You also pointed out this hypocrisy towards his daughter, which is why he kicked you out. He owes you and your sister a massive apology. Daddy needs to open his eyes and stop putting his non-biological children over his bio kids. If you have the space, you might want to look into moving your sister in with you. Brianna also had a burger. Shows that they're pandering far too much to Amy's preference and obsession. Your dad is making a grave mistake in brushing off his own kids to pander to his new family exclusively. Also, I think the idiot rule is we all have to eat the same thing. If they're secure enough monetarily that they can order from multiple places, then why make people miserable trying to make them eat the same? My family does takeout, but we have ordered from multiple places.